You gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis.
What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. You look good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a busy Monday in the Quad Cities. Thank you guys so much for joining us. A ton to get to. Monday, February 2nd. What a weekend it was in the world of sports. A lot to get to when it comes to basketball, when it comes to a little football, when it comes to some softball as well. So we should have a really fun show to get to here on a Monday in the Quad Cities. You can check us out on YouTube as well. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you for doing that. Getting close to 1,500 subscribers here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. So if you are watching and you haven't subscribed, please do so ASAP. If you have not subscribed, all right, and also tell a friend or two or 10 about what's going on right here in the Quad Cities. Also, we are on X as well. X has been very, very good to us. So if you're watching on X, be interactive. Same thing with YouTube as well. Be interactive with us on YouTube as well. And weigh in on what you think about the show, things we're talking about, guests, all those kind of things as well. You can check us out on all of the podcasting platforms as well. So if you are on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Podbean, wherever you are around the Quad Cities, around the state, and you check out your podcasts, go ahead, put it off there with Matt Randazzo, and check out the show each and every day as well. Also, a special thank you and welcome to our viewers in Eastern, or I should say Central Iowa. We are on each and every day at 7 p.m. On the WHO streaming app. So thank you guys for your support and, of course, your feedback as well. A busy, busy show to get to. If you couldn't tell, I'm distracted right now trying to do like 3 different things at the same time. But I'm excited because our first guest coming up in just a matter of moments is a very familiar face here in the Quad Cities. Texas Tech softball standout, former Rock Island softball standout, Taylor Pannell will join us in just a matter of moments. They are one of the best teams in all of college softball, getting ready for the season. So we'll talk with Taylor coming up in just a matter of moments. Also later on here in hour number 1, Trent Condon from Locked On Hawkeyes will join us to talk about a busy weekend of Iowa basketball. The Iowa men winning last night out in Oregon by 18. The Iowa women dropping their second straight. So we'll talk both of those with him. A little football with Trent Condon as well. It was a big night on Friday night at Wharton Fieldhouse. Rocky versus Moline. It was Rock Island winning. They were led by Arthur Abbey, former Moline standout, now with Rock Island. A big night for him, 19 points. He'll join us in hour number 2 of the show. And then also the voice of the Iowa women's basketball team, Rob Brooks, will join us around 11:30 in hour number 2. So as I mentioned, a very busy show to get to today here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Before we get to our first guest, we mentioned the basketball. It's funny because it was the first Sunday without football. So you had to fill it with something, and thank goodness there was so much college basketball, men's and women's, to get to. We'll talk more about this later on the show, but the Fighting Illini get their second straight huge victory. They go on the road. Actually, it was their 11th straight, I think, overall. But one of those things where they go on the road and beat a top 5 team for back-to-back weekends. They go to Nebraska, winning that 78-69, their 11th straight win. They're 10-1 in Big Ten play. So right now on social media, on X, one of our poll questions, who's the best team in the Big Ten? I think it might be Illinois. And I'm a big Michigan guy. I think Michigan's really, really good. But as of today, February 2nd, I think it's Illinois. So go weigh in on the poll question. Give us your reasons why. We'll talk more Illini later in the show. And, of course, tomorrow, a big day with Illinois stuff here on Off the Air. We mentioned the Iowa men winning, Iowa State winning as well, 95-61 at Kansas State. So an impressive victory for the Cyclones. They now have won 4 straight. They're 20-2 overall. So congratulations to the Cyclones. Iowa women dropped their 2nd straight game. Rob Brooks coming up later on in the show. And the Illinois women go out to Washington and they get a big victory on the road. Shauna Green and company, the Clinton native, doing great things as well. So we'll talk a lot more college basketball, high school basketball coming up a little bit later on. I know what everybody's thinking. It's February. It's like 4 degrees outside. It's miserable, but we're talking softball to lead off today's show because it is coming before you know it. And we're going to welcome back a very familiar face to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Taylor Pannell joining us right now. How are you, young lady? Good to see you.
Good to see you. Yeah, thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely. It's funny because I was telling, I think, my wife last night, and one of the things I always remember about yourself is I did a story with you when you were a freshman in high school, Taylor. I don't know if you remember that. And it seems like so long ago. And then I watch you obviously doing college softball, but the interviews and all those kinds of things. You're good at this stuff now. You're really good.
Thanks. I try. There's been a lot of practice recently.
Yeah, it's funny because I go back to the freshman story I did, and I'm like, oh, she's a freshman in high school, but she's done fantastic. Obviously, wearing red today, wearing red in general these days, I got to start there. Obviously, making the move from Tennessee to Texas Tech. How has that gone? What has it been like for you to change programs and head down to Texas Tech?
Yeah, it's been awesome. I think Lubbock has exceeded my expectations. I think when you think of Lubbock, Texas, you don't really think of anything. So I didn't really have much to come into, but I think the environment and the fans here are great. The coaching staff's great. And I think the team's great. So we start Thursday and I'm just really looking forward to it.
It is right around the corner. You look at it, what went into the decision? Because you look at Texas Tech and they were inches away from a national championship. I know their head coach is one of the best in the entire game of college softball. Take me through the thought process and the decisions, because it's a difficult decision. What helped you make that decision to head to Texas Tech?
I think looking at their past, 2 years ago, you'd never heard of Texas Tech softball, Texas Tech athletics at all. And last year, they really made a name for themselves, and just the way they played, the way Coach Glasgow handled business. And I think at that moment in time, in my career, I think it was the best move for me with school and everything. I think just looking at the team they were building, I think it was the best decision for me, and it was a great opportunity I really couldn't pass up.
You look at that team, it was really good last year, Taylor, and the amount of talent that has come to Lubbock. What has that been like? Because you got the returning players that are really good, and then you look around and the class coming in with yourself was amazing as well. The softball take cares of itself. That's kind of easier when it comes to talent. What has the mesh been like? What is it meeting new teammates, getting to know people you probably knew of and maybe knew a little bit, but what has the chemistry, I guess, been like so far?
Yeah, I think that's the big question. Every interview I see talking about Tech, it's they have the talent, but the chemistry may not be there. But I think it's the complete the opposite. Our softball will take care of itself, but I think the chemistry is what stands out for me. We came in and it we blended seamlessly. And it's I've never met a group of people that have been so close so fast, and we've had no problems as a team, which is really rare for this many girls on one team. So I'm just really excited, and it's more about having fun with this team than the softball. The softball will come because we play for each other, and so I'm really excited to have that come into fruition.
You talk about the team aspect. Coach Glasgow is as good as it gets. Can you talk about your head coach and what that brings that dynamic? A coach that a lot of people, a lot of players would love to play for around the country.
Yeah, he's one of the best. I think he came from similar to where I live, and I think it's really cool that we can bond on Illinois. His daughter, Coach Tara's husband, lives in Moline, which is small world. They know where I'm from. Yeah, no, it's really crazy. And I think we can bond on that. And just the way he coaches is high risk, high reward. I've never seen a softball team steal home, let alone in the World Series. And I think that's a real big part of why I came here. I love the way they play. I love the way he coaches, and it's just fun. And it's like you never know what he's going to do. He'll give you a sign, and you're like, you have to buy in fully because it could be the craziest, most ridiculous sign ever, but that's why it works. So it's really fun. He keeps everyone on his toes. And so, yeah, I'm excited to see how the season plays out and how it's going to go.
Taylor, you look at the amount of talent at Texas Tech. Your journey through high school and college softball has been amazing. And we've talked about it here on the show. There was injuries. There was times that you didn't know where softball was going to be in your future. A big change when it comes to making a decision like you had to make. Did what you went through in the past when it came to the injury, the journey that you've gone through, help you now when it comes to making these type of decisions, making a move from a place you were comfortable with? Kind of talk about that, because you've been through a lot when it comes to the world of college softball, haven't you?
Yeah, I think it did help me because I realized like my career is only 4 years, technically 5, but it's so short. Like I only have 2 years left of it, and I couldn't really, like I said, pass up this opportunity because it is once in a lifetime. This is a once in a lifetime team. So it's just something I wanted to be a part of. And in 2 years, I'm done playing college softball. So I want to live it out as best as I can and take the risk and just experience it all.
When you're playing at Texas Tech and you guys are practicing and you go against the pitchers they go against the hitters they have to go against, they always say iron sharpens iron. And not that you haven't been around great softball your entire life, but can you see that each day at practice, that iron does sharpen iron, and you're going against some of the best pitching, I'm assuming, in the nation every single day of practice?
Yeah, I completely agree. That's how this team's getting better. We've scrimmaged more than I've ever scrimmaged.
Okay.
I think that's how this team gets better. Everyone came for being the best player on their team. And that's the mindset. Everyone wants to be the best player on this team, but it's not going to be easy. One day, it changes every day. So one day it could be a pitcher's day. It could be a hitter's day the next day. And it's just really fun just to compete with everyone because everyone wants to be the best. But then we have a team of the best. So it's just really fun to compete. And I think the pitchers get us ready. We get the pitchers ready. And then the hitters also compete every day.
Taylor, last time I talked with you, you had just gone to the World Series. And the moments and the experiences and all those kind of things, you could tell you were still on a high. And that's something, once you taste it, you want to get back to. Obviously, the situation you're in now at Texas Tech, the expectations are even higher, which is really exciting. But can you talk about that motivation, being there, being part of it? I'm assuming you haven't forgotten it. It's left a good and maybe a bad taste in your mouth a little bit. The good being there, the bad not finishing what you started. Kind of talk about that motivation of having that experience last year.
Yeah, I think having the experience is huge. I think that's the end goal. Everyone's dream, everyone since they were 12, the dream is to play at the World Series, to win the World Series. And this team was basically built to do that. We have 90% of our team that have played in the World Series and experienced that. So I think that helps a lot because once we get there, it's just not going to feel as big as it should feel, but I think everyone knows what it takes to get there and the fields to get there, to use it as motivation. And the people who haven't been there, they want to do that. They want to experience it themselves too, because like I said, it's everyone's dream. So that's just the constant reminder we have every day at practice. We don't expect to get there. We have to earn it each day in every game. So that's just the mindset we go into the season.
Taylor Pannell from Texas Tech joining us right now and Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. I know you get back home. I've seen on social media you've given back. I know you're always clinics and talking to teams and all those kind of things. Why is that important? I mean, it might be a duh question, kind of a dumb question, but why is that important for you to get back to talk to young people that was you not too long ago, Taylor? Why is that important? And you enjoy doing stuff like that?
No, yeah, 100%. I'll do it as much as I can. I love when people reach out to me because I wouldn't think to do it myself because I don't see it as that big of a deal. But hearing it and seeing it for myself, going and talking to these girls, that was me. I don't realize the effect that college softball has and how big it is actually, because I remember sitting on my couch, not that people should do this, but I would stay home when the World Series was happening from school just because I wanted to watch a game, which I don't think normal. That's normal, but but I think it's just that's how everyone feels. Little girls look up to the people playing in the World Series, playing in college, and it's just cool that I can represent the Quad Cities. And yeah, I think it's just really special being able to do this and having little girls come up to me and ask for my autograph, because I would have never thought that like it mattered to them. But I love doing things like that, and I do it as much as I can when I'm home.
I know we've talked about it, but can you feel the support, not just from Rock Island? I know Rock Island is super proud of what you're doing. I talk to people about that all the time over there, but it's a Quad City thing, Taylor. I mean, it really is, like, when it comes to, and I think it is with all our athletes, when they go do big things and go to the next level. Like, yes, you might be a Moline standout, Rocky standout, Bettendorf, whatever it may be, but you're a Quad Cityan too. Do you feel it from the entire area as well?
No, yeah, I think recently maybe making the transition to tech, it's more like not like Illinois, like as it is, like I'll get DMs, people saying like, I'm from Illinois, like I want to play in Texas, like stuff like that. So I think it's super cool just doing that. But Quad Cities will always be like home to me. So anytime like I hear like Quad Cities team or Quad Cities girl that like looks up to me, I think it's super special. Even if it's just like any other sport too, like it's cool like that I can represent something and like live out dreams basically, because it's like Quad Cities, like we could go anywhere, and I know that we've had some like other athletes go big places, so it's cool to be a part of that too.
Taylor Pannell joining us right now with On Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Being back at home, I think last time I talked to you, we talked food, because I always talk food with everybody. I kind of like to eat, and I think you said Cactus in Milan was your favorite place to eat. I don't know if it's still there anymore. So
No,
I know I got kids that aren't happy. Do you have another or a new favorite place to go yet when it comes to not just Mexican food, but food in general?
Honestly, we went to Los Agaves in Moline, so it's kind of like the same thing, but that was kind of where my family and I went a couple times, but more so like I was there for a week and a month, and my mom and like grandma would just mainly make food. So that was just
home cooking is a beautiful thing. I will message your dad some good Mexican places in the Quad Cities. You got to try some other ones as well. There's some really good. Los Agaves is a good one as well. Are you superstitious, Taylor? And if so,
no,
what
not
are you?
really.
Not at all.
I don't like it because then it's like then I base like everything around it. Like if I have a good game, and then it's like that's like more like mental games if it is. But like I get Starbucks or an energy drink before the game if that's my superstition.
Yeah.
But that's
Nothing
just because
too
I like
crazy.
it. No, nothing too crazy.
Has your approach changed at the plate throughout college? Or is it still as simple as it was? I know it's a difficult question because everything changes and all those kind of things, but you go back to the basics of Rock Island High School and Coach Allison or whoever talking softball with you to now. Has it evolved a lot, or is it still the same kind of basics are successful? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's definitely evolved, and it's like because it's definitely more complicated because we have the scouting reports, and it's like pitchers are more elite, and like they're more like they have better stuff. So we have to be able to. In high school, you could just go in there and be like see ball, hit ball, but it's not that simple here. But I think like I'm the one that's like if I overthink, it doesn't go good. So I have to keep it more simple than most. But I think it evolved from like technically my freshman year 2 years ago, I was more simple, but then last year towards the end of the season, it got like a little more complicated and I wasn't doing as good. But then World Series, I was just like, whatever, like I'm in the World Series, and I ended up doing better than I have been doing recently. And then here it's like same thing. I can't get too crazy. I think it was more of like a pressure thing last year, just doing that. But like here, there's really no pressure because there's 9 girls in that lineup that have my back. So that's a mindset I'm going into season with. It's definitely going to change a little bit once we hit like rough patches, and then we're going to have to like figure out the small things to fix. But right now it's just kind of going in there, get a good pitch and get a good swing.
Okay, before I let you go, I think last time I talked to you about becoming a Southern girl because you like Tennessee, you like that, but you're still, and now you go even more south. So now you're in Texas. Are you still Quad City? Are you still a Midwest girl, or are you becoming a Southern girl over time?
No, I am definitely. We just got like 4 to 8 inches of snow, and I was like one of the only people that was like comfortable driving in it. So I was the one like driving people to go eat, going to the store, going to practice, and I mean it was fine. I will say there's no plows or salt trucks here, so it's still ice. A week and a half later, but yeah, I'll forever be Midwest.
I love it. I love it. Has it been off the field wise? Has it been? That's a big move. You're in Lubbock, Texas. You mentioned you didn't even know what existed there. What has the transition off the softball field been like for you?
No, it's been awesome here. I've taken every opportunity to go to every other sporting event that I can. The fans are great here. I've talked to many people, and they're like, softball is one of the big sports here. And it's pretty awesome to see how it's evolved just in the past 2 years. Like, I'm getting recognized, and I haven't even played a game technically yet. So it's really cool, and the fans are diehard here because the next school isn't 4 hours away, maybe, at least. So everyone within like 5 hours if you're a Texas Tech fan. And it's just like, you're never bored here. There's always something to do, something to go eat, a new place to try. Everyone likes to hang out with each other, so it's always a good time.
No, absolutely. Okay, last one for you. College softball wise, I hear that Oklahoma, Texas is the defending champs, but Texas Tech, it's like, I mean, that's the team I hear the most. Do you guys embrace that? I don't want to say is it national championship or bust, because that's silly, but what are your expectations? Do they start with that conversation when it comes to this softball team and the talent that you ladies have?
No, yeah, definitely. Each day it's like we talk about we have the potential to be those national championships team, but like the last team standing. But like I said, it's like we have to earn it every day. Someone can get you on your bad day if you aren't if you're just like take them for granted or just like expect to win based on talent. Like, that's not how the game of softball is played. So we just have to keep that in mind. But I think expectation wise, it's a conversation everyone has. Like, everyone expects us to win. Everyone's like, oh, they need to win. Like, and it's just like negative talk when they talk about Tech. So it's like we all want to like just come up and show out. But at the end of the day, it is a game, and this team isn't like championship or bust. Like, we want to just have a great season and have fun, and then like I said, softball will take care of the rest. So it's just more of like, if we do everything right, we'll just see how far it takes us.
No, I think it'll go very well. We're going to be watching here in the Quad Cities. You know it, but there's a bunch of Taylor Pannell fans up here. Now there's Red Raider fans. I appreciate you doing this. And I texted her yesterday, and she's like, yeah, what time? I'll go live. Let's do it. So I appreciate it. We'll talk again soon. And then eventually someday we'll talk as a national champion. How's that sound?
Yes, that's the plan.
All right. Taylor, I appreciate you. We'll talk again soon. Be good.
Okay, thank you.
All right, that is Taylor Pannell, the standout down at, excuse me, pushed the wrong button. Hang with me, Taylor. This is my first show ever doing this kind of stuff. There we go. That's the button I meant to push. Taylor Pannell obviously doing great stuff down at Texas Tech. And yeah, when you look at college softball, it starts with the Red Raiders, and it starts with obviously that conference as well. And there's some really good softball to be played. So as she mentioned, it's starting really, really soon. So we'll keep a close eye on it. So always great to talk softball in February 2nd. We're talking football and we're talking softball. That'll keep you warmed up as we get ready to get through the winter. We got more to get to. Coming up after the break, we'll talk some college basketball. My good friend Trent Condon will join us to talk about the Iowa men's basketball team, the women's basketball team, a little football, and a whole bunch more. You're watching Off the Air on a Monday, a crazy busy Monday, right here in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak, with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo, now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Yeah, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a busy Monday in the Quad Cities. It was a really, almost like because there was no football, we needed something yesterday on a Sunday, and college basketball gave us everything, especially locally here in the Quad Cities when we have the Iowa men, the Illinois men, and Iowa State men all playing, and then also the Illinois women and the Iowa women playing as well. It was a good night for the Iowa Hawkeyes, not so great afternoon for the ladies, so let's talk a little Hawkeyes with our good friend Trent Condon from in the Des Moines area. Trent, of course, has the weekly show or the weekday show on KXNO with Miller and Condon, also the host of Locked On Hawkeyes. Trent, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Yeah, been listening for a while, Matt. Enjoy what you're doing over there, and good to connect and talk a little bit and talk some Hawkeyes. That's always a good thing.
Absolutely. Let's talk Hawks, and usually I'm a gentleman, Trent, and I want to go ladies first. But we're going to go guys first because it's a little bit better to talk about today.
Yeah.
Really impressed with what they're doing right now. Middle of a 4-game winning streak. They go out to Oregon and get a impressive, just like workman-like victory over not a very good Oregon team. But I don't know about you. It's still Oregon. It's still Dana Altman. Your thoughts, I guess, the headline when you get done watching the Hawkeyes last night.
Yeah, it was one of those games you wonder. I mean, Iowa historically doesn't matter the sport. You think of a trip out to the West Coast, you get a little bit concerned. I mean, we remember a year ago when Iowa went out to LA and just got absolutely pulverized in that game against UCLA, just played so terribly in that one. And really, that was kind of the game that almost felt like the beginning of the end for Fran. Like, there's no pulling out of this. This thing not going to go well. They're not going to make the tournament. And that was kind of the start of what the conversation really getting down and the ball rolling down the hill about Iowa making a move there. So I had that. Of course, football, we know about all the West Coast trips outside of the Holiday Bowl against USC and how that has gone. So that was lingering in my mind. And you said, I think the most pertinent part is Dana Altman. And as we've been watching him during his days at Creighton, and of course, what he's done at Oregon, knocking off Iowa, as Frank Carson talked about after the game and getting that win against Oregon, that lingered in the mind a little bit. I love, though, what we saw out of this squad, and specifically, obviously, Bennett Stirtz is the headline, top-of-fold kind of guy. But overall, when you look at the way that they played, Alvaro Figueres, is it finally starting to all click for him? Definitely looks that way. And I've been talking about it, certainly when you talk Hawkeyes daily, and as you know, Matt, when you're going through things, I'm a big Brendan Hassan guy. I know the defense wasn't quite there. You know, he was injured during the offseason, looked a little bit out of shape. And hearing McCollum continually talk about him, the work that he's doing in practice, to finally see him not just get in there for a couple of minutes, but go in there and be impactful, because I think this is a guy that still can help them and win them some games going forward through the course of this season. We know they need a little bit more offense, and if they can get 8-10 minutes a game out of Hassan and knock down a couple of threes, I think it really does change the equation of this team.
No, absolutely. Trenton, you look at it, you mentioned that NCAA tournament Oregon game still sticks in my head. So to get out there and get off to a good start and get that victory. And you mentioned those three guys you just brought up are all transfers that are all, you know, and Bennett Stirtz is different. He probably didn't need as much time. Although I will say I felt like he needed a little time in the Big Ten to get get fully adjusted, because there were a few games when they lost 3 straight that he looked, fouling was a little too high, and he fouled a little too much and didn't look like his normal self. He's a little different, but those other two, and especially when it comes to Fulgaris, you go back to football and you look at, the biggest one was Mark Gronowski. And from those first couple games to where he ended up, you saw him get his footing. Do you think there's something to the fact that Alvaro and to a lesser extent maybe Hassan is getting their footing more in the Big Ten with McCollum? Because a lot of those other guys knew what Ben was and the system and all that. Do you feel like those other guys, those transfers, are getting their footing and maybe more comfortable what they're doing in an Iowa uniform right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we also have to remind ourselves at times that Fulgaris wasn't with the team all during, the summertime leading up to it. He was playing for the Spanish national team. Reading between the lines, I don't know if McCollum loved that. You could kind of just tell, and he wasn't going to come out and say that to us, but you could just tell maybe that was something under the surface a little bit, because they do things differently. I mean, the amount of teamwork, kind of team building stuff that they do, sprinting to the weight room, all those different things in the videos that we've seen, it is a little bit different. And I think he was behind the 8 ball with that. He's got such a diversified skill set too. And we know he's got size. He's okay, defensively, and he still needs to work on that end of the floor. But at 6'10", the shooting ability that he has, and he's confident too. I mean, he goes in there, and even in the times that we've seen him struggle, he's not going to be shy about it. Having that kind of guy, and then what he can do mixing it up inside definitely goes a long way. And Hassan, kind of the same thing. Like I said, he was banged up during the summertime. We heard a bunch about that. I thought he was going to be a starter. I thought Hassan was going to be, with them in that starting lineup, and then not just to not see him starting, but barely playing, and then at times not playing at all, I thought was a big one. But both those guys were a little bit behind. Now it's starting to come together. Here's another great thing too. I mean, you look forward, how many times have we seen, well, it used to be the Fran February fade, right? Where things would start to fall back. They'd start to take a step back. And a lot of times they look tired. Well, you're talking about guys that have fresh legs in comparison. Hassan, he looks like a different guy. He looks like he's, 10, 15 pounds lighter than he was probably back at media day. I know you were over there. I was over there doing my radio show. He looks like a different kind of guy, and he's continued to do the work. Well, when you're out because of an injury, that makes a little bit of sense. So that gives me excitement that it's not that the rotation is dwindling down, and by the time we get into late February, early March, that suddenly this is going to be a dead tired team. Maybe there's even more upside with this squad because they're going to have some guys with some fresher legs.
Trent Condon joining us right now on Off Day with Matt Randazzo. Trent, we talk about Bennett Stirtz, and it's kind of an low-hanging fruit or easy to talk about Bennett. He's that good. But when you go for 32 and you shoot the ball 15 times, you miss 3 shots all night, you also have 7 assists, you just can't – I expected the Big Ten – I didn't expect, but I was wondering if the Big Ten would speed him up at all or wear on him at all. He looks – you can't get him sideways, to steal an old Franism. He's always doing the right thing. I know it's easy to talk about, but he looked like an All-American last night, and they talked about it on the broadcast. He looked like a Big Ten guy, or an NBA guy. He looked like a guy who could play at the next level. 2,000 points. You saw him a lot more than maybe this side of the state did because of the Des Moines area and Drake. Are you surprised that he's still as good as he is at the Big Ten level, night in and night out?
The consistency certainly is there. And, he had that stretch for a week and a half. He was dealing with foul trouble, seemed a little bit frustrated, about as sideways as we've seen him in a couple of those moments. And that definitely happened, I think, a couple of different times. But understanding the speed of the game, the physicality, maybe more importantly, that's going to be played against you, some of the defenders that he's going up against. And when that step back starts going, as we saw last night, 3 of those 4 3-pointers were the step back variety, there's nothing he can do. But what I loved, as they started to stretch things out in the second half. Now, I think McCollum felt like he called about the same play 6 times in a row, and they just kept going to it. But that high screen, him turning the corner and getting to the rim too, we haven't seen a ton of that this season. That was a huge part of his game, though, last year at Drake. And if you can get that component going a little bit more, coupled with not just getting to the rim and the layups that he had last night, but just getting the free throw line. He hasn't shot nearly as many free throws as I thought he was going to coming into the season. Maybe that's one of those eureka moments that they're starting to figure out, all right, we're going to have to be a little bit more aggressive, take a little bit more contact that season. But if that coupled with the shooting ability, and as you said, just his ability to understand the flow, never speed up, you're going to play the game at his speed, I think that's going to go a long way in getting that consistency there, because there's going to be nights where those step backs aren't falling. You're not going to 4 or 6 from the 3-point line. If that happens, get to the rim a little bit more, and we saw that last night.
Trent, you look at it, and people trying to figure out who was going to be Robin to Batman, maybe, when it comes to Bennett, Stirtz. It's been different people, and heck, if you talk to me last couple games, it was, Tavion Banks is that guy. Nicholas Baer was on here last week saying, I think he's their most important player. I agreed, and then we look at this game, and he really doesn't have an impact at all, and Iowa wins by 22. But you're seeing different people step up and play different roles, and it could be Cooper Koch early in the year playing really well. Tavion Banks has played well. Tate Sage had a couple games where you're like, wow, this freshman's going to be really good. Alvaro yesterday. Is that probably, and you just kind of mentioned, wearing on you during February, it feels like Iowa's getting more diverse, stronger as the season goes on. Is that just being an Iowa fan and being optimistic, or is that something that you can kind of see as well?
I definitely see that, and I got a full transparency. Iowa basketball for me is number one. Now, Dazzle, we're about the same age, so growing up, I talk about the story all the time. Growing up in the 80s, I lived in a small town next to my bigger town, Osage, which isn't very big either, of New Haven. We had 40 people, a church, and 2 bars. So only sports, though, that you could watch back in the 80s on Thursday night was Iowa basketball. That was it. That was your only time, if you didn't have cable, to watch sports during the week, during the wintertime. It was a huge thing. And because of that, Iowa basketball is number one for me. It's the most important thing. It's the thing that I still, as a guy in his mid-40s, still get viscerally upset about is Iowa basketball. And I yell at the TV, and my kids look at me. And my wife gives me a different kind of look. That's what happens during Iowa basketball, because I am the biggest fan of Iowa hoops. That is still the sport for me that is the most important, but I see it too. I do see that component. I know fandom maybe starts to set in, and then you start to dream a little bit. You start to think, boy, could this team finally get back to the first weekend? I was a freshman at Iowa the last time they made the Sweet 16. That was a long time ago. Yeah. I'm an old man, and sat there at One-Eye Jake's and watched it with my buddies, and it was completely different against UConn in that Sweet 16, and it was a long, long time ago, but I start to get those thoughts because of what they have. And what we don't talk about often, because it's not nearly as fun to talk about, is on the defensive end of the floor, just how connected they are. I go back to the beginning of that USC game. You go back to on Wednesday, they're playing awful offensively. They didn't hit the rim. Hit 3 air balls, 3 block shots, 4 turnovers. I think in their opening, 8 possessions, whatever it was, to begin the ball game. Didn't even hit the rim. They're down 10-0, but against a lot of other teams, if you're not like they are defensively, they're down 18-0. I mean, it's completely different than trying to dig out of a 10-point hole, and it's because of what they do on the defensive end of the floor. They're so connected there. That's going to give them a chance a lot of times against different kind of matchups too. We've talked about these different matchups that they've seen throughout the Big Ten. Some teams really big, some teams really physical. They played all different varieties, and they've been right there with every single one of them. That's why that glimmer of hope, and sometimes I don't want to get too excited about it, but it's there that this team can make a run when we get to March.
Trent Condon joining us right now and off there with Matt Randazzo. Trent, it's funny, you'll get a kick out of this. I saw Joey Range. He's coaching at his alma mater in Galesburg, and we sat there and talked, probably a month ago, and we were talking about he was on that last team that made the Sweet 16. I'm like, Joey, you're not young. And he laughed. He said, no, I'm not. So, and Settles says it as well. So, that's, I think, obviously something that's out there for this team. We talked about Tavion Banks. There's that, and they talked about it on the broadcast yesterday. There's that number, that 34. He's at 30, didn't attempt a free throw yesterday, so it's still out there. We have a poll question up today. Do you want to see Tavion Banks beat the record? Do you want to see him stay at 34 and keep that the record? And then, or the other option is the time will dictate what to do, the situation. You're a big Iowa fan. You're the Chris Street stuff. I tell people all the time. I remember it's that JFK moment that we'll always remember where you're at, what were you doing. I was a little TV in my room. Tom Cornelis was up on KWQC, and he let off the newscast with what was going on, and I was, shocked. What are your thoughts on the record? Should he, if he can, should he try to be in the group? Or should he, your thoughts on what should happen with the free throw record if he can make 4 more in a row?
I think at the start of it, we have to talk about Jordan Bohannon to do what he did. Do it in a game that wasn't completely in the bag either. And missing that free throw against Northwestern, I think they were up 7 or something like that. So it wasn't completely a blowout or anything like that. There was a possibility of Northwestern coming back. Jordan, though, doing that, absolutely incredible. It puts him in, I think, rarefied air for a lot of people. One of your biggest memories of him is not banking in a 3 against Indiana. It's that moment. And I think that says a lot about that. But that was a specific time. That was for a specific player and also a specific family, right? With the Bohannon family and Gordy and all the connections there. For Tavion Banks, he doesn't have those connections. And I want to see him break it. If it gets to that moment, if he gets to 34, say it's the back end of 2 shots and he's sitting there, I want him to make it. And there's 2 reasons. First, we're not going to forget about Chris Street. If his free throw record is broken, we're never going to forget about him. I've said since I started in this business 22 years ago, as long as I have a microphone, there's not going to be a year that goes by that I'm not going to talk about Chris Street. When January 19th comes, around that area, the anniversaries of the Michigan State and Michigan games, I'm always going to talk about that as long as I have an opportunity to do so, because he was that important to me, and I think that important to the state and certainly to Hawkeye fans out there. We're not going to forget about Chris Street. Here's the other thing. If Chris Street was still around, and that was the record, and he went out there the next time and missed a free throw and it was 34, he wouldn't want people to do that. We know Chris Street, the competitor, and we also know the way he liked to razz people a little bit, talk to a lot of people that used to play against Chris throughout the years, and Chris would have given him crap if he missed the free throw. Yeah. So I think for him and the kind of guy that he was and just the way that he embodied playing hard, playing the right way, right? Give 100% effort all the time. All the quotes that we know from Chris Street, he would want to see Tavion Banks break the record. So that's where I come down on it. I certainly understand the other side. Bohannon, what he did, it was great for the moment. But now, if it gets to that opportunity, I hope Tavion knocks down the free throw.
Trent, you mentioned being a big Iowa guy. Obviously, I talked to my boys about the Hawkeyes, and we've all said going into this little West Coast, because you mentioned last year it started to really go downhill when you're out west. They're out west. I think I said to my oldest, man, I'd like to see him split. And now you got the one, you're like, now I want to see him sweep. Can you talk to me a little bit about the game with Washington coming up? Your thoughts on a difficult, a better opponent, obviously, than Oregon. You're still out there. You're probably accustomed to it, but it's still 10 o'clock at night when we're starting a basketball game by their body clocks. I think that kind of stuff's a little overrated when it comes to especially when you've been out there for a little bit. But anyways, your thoughts, Wednesday night, 10 o'clock game, get the popcorn and coffee on so you can stay awake. Your thoughts on their next opponent, Washington, coming up.
I think you said a very pertinent part. This team's a lot better than Oregon. Oregon without Biddle, we saw just how decimated they are. In fact, 2 of their better players were out. That's not going to be the case here. This Washington team's also going to be pretty hungry. You look at their schedule coming up the rest of the way, it's not overly daunting. In fact, they're projected to win their final 7 games of the year at KenPom. And I know that's a drinking game for you, Dazzo. Yes. But they're projected to win. The only 2 that they're projected to lose, Iowa, by 2 points on Wednesday night, and then their UCLA game on the road coming up over the weekend. But with that, this is one of their few remaining opportunities to get a quad 1 victory themselves for Washington, and this would be a quad 1 win for them. So I think Danny Sprinkle, who I really respect, love what Danny Sprinkle did. He's got a great name, but he was tremendous at Utah State, and before that at Montana State. He's a really good coach. This team is big. They're physical. Talk about those different styles that Iowa sees. They play 2 6'11" guys together a lot. So this is going to be a difficult matchup, I believe, for Iowa and an opportunity for Washington. They're going to look at this one. I think this one circled for them a little bit. So, yeah, we get a little bit selfish after getting the win against Oregon, just looking for the split. On the other perspective, though, Iowa, we go through the resume. The Indiana win's nice. Obviously, the UCLA home wins there, but there's not a whole lot of depth to their resume. So I think a really important game. I like that they're staying out there, a chance to kind of connect a little bit more and hang out in the Pacific Northwest for a couple of extra days. I like that component to it. They got to be ready to go, though, because it's going to be a big step up in competition.
Can you big picture the Big Ten for me? Obviously, we're here in the Quad Cities. Illinois fans super excited, as they should be, playing really good basketball. Michigan's Michigan. Nebraska's been Nebraska. They've now lost 2 straight. Is it those 3? Is it just the 2? And they kind of talked about in the broadcast yesterday, everybody gets in the tournament this year when it comes to the Big Ten tournament. There's different ways but that top 8 is important. So who's the best team in the Big Ten? And then after that, where does Iowa fit in the hierarchy of the Big Ten right now, maybe?
I would call it maybe a top 5, the upper crust of the league right now. Michigan, Illinois, Michigan State. I think Nebraska deserves to be in there, even with the 2-game losing streak. And I'm not ready to quit Purdue. They're going to factor, I think, in the end. Those teams, I think we feel, at least game in and game out, they're the most consistent out of that top level. That middle group there with Iowa and UCLA, Wisconsin, Indiana, Ohio State, USC, and then the rest of the mix, good luck. I mean, throw them in the hat and kind of pull them out at this point, because all of them haven't proven a ton in this point in time. Wisconsin out of the group has by far the best win, going and beating Michigan in the fashion that they did, knocking down 3-pointers in that one, but they have some ugly losses also in that resume. Out of that next tier, though, Iowa, I think, has as good a shot as anybody of finishing 6, getting the top 6, the top third, if you will, in the Big Ten after those top 5. That's the way that I look at it, and I like Iowa's both path of what they have schedule-wise going forward and the opportunities that they're going to have in front of them, just the way that they're playing. And if this offense continues to be more diversified, we know what they're going to be on the defensive end of the floor. I think that Iowa has a real chance of being in the top of the next group, if you will, after the top 5.
The Iowa men playing very well. The Iowa women playing great too. I know that LA wasn't what they wanted it to be, but that team and that program, if you take those 2 games, if I talked to you last week at this time, I mean, that, and we both know, and you have multiple shows and I have a show, and Iowa women's basketball resonates. It just simply does. If I talk Iowa women's basketball, the viewers show up. I guess before we talk about the LA side of things, we talked about men's basketball, and you're right with me, and that's the same thing. It was Saturday nights, Wednesday nights. I was watching KWQC. I was watching the Iowa games. That's what it was. Women's basketball has been really, really good, and it's what people love to talk about. Can you talk about that a little more? Because women's basketball is a thing in the state of Iowa, and it's just, I don't know if it's that way for you guys and your shows. People love listening to it. People love talking about Iowa women's basketball.
Yeah, and the Caitlin Clark effect was real, but even before that. And so I've had a connection to the women's basketball team since back in college. One of my roommates back in college, his wife worked for the Iowa women's basketball team for a long time. So I've always been a fan. I've always been watching and watching for a glimpse of her also on the sideline. It was always fun in the huddle. But that aside, so I've been watching for a while, but I also knew when you talk about it on the radio for a long time, it was a tune-out. Not the case anymore. And it started with Megan in her final season, Gustafson, and what she was able to do. But Caitlin Clark took it to another stratosphere. And to see this fan base still there supporting, to see the numbers that we get, downloads in terms of viewers, those kind of things, it's still huge. It still resonates in a big time way. And it shows you that there is an appetite for women's sports, and not just for Caitlin Clark, not just 22, but what it's there. And we definitely see that show up in a big time way, both on the radio and on the podcast side of things, as people, they love hearing about the Hawkeyes. All overall, you always play the hits, right? And that's the Hawkeyes and the Cyclones for us in the middle of the state, but it is playing the hits on the women's basketball side. People continue to show up in a big time way.
Do people need to panic when it comes to Iowa women's basketball? I think I spent the last 12 hours telling people to relax. It's a West Coast swing, and one of them you probably knew you weren't going to get, and now they come home for some good games and some big games. But the way I look at things is they weren't going to go, and I think Kyle Huseman talks a lot about it on this show. They weren't going to go perfect in the Big Ten. Yes, you wanted to get USC. It was disappointing. I think you saw that you missed Taylor McCabe when it comes to that piece of shooting, and if Addie Deal is a freshman, which she is, and she's going to be really, really good, but there are going to be days that she's maybe not really, really good because she's a freshman. That is a little bit of a concern. I don't panic if I'm an Iowa fan. Your thoughts on Iowa women's basketball moving forward?
Yeah, I think the McCabe injury turns out to be bigger. And Jan Jensen mentioned it after the game, is after the USC game, it was that it's not just her shooting ability. We all know that. We know how she stretches the floor, gives other opportunities and more gaps for people to drive and to make plays inside with Hayden and Stolke and those kind of things when you have a shooter out there. But Jan also mentioned that every time that you're supposed to switch on defense, she makes the right switch. Every time you're supposed to hedge, she heads right. She makes the right play. She doesn't turn it over offensively. There's a lot of things coupled with just the veteran presence that she was. I was one of those right away. I'm like, it wasn't to throw her under the bus or anything like that, but the upside of Addie Deal and the way that certainly Addie played in that Ohio State game got you incredibly excited about what it was. But that we saw again, these last two games, she is a freshman. She is a freshman and more of a typical freshman than what we saw from 22 and things like that. And these are the things you're going to get. There's going to be highs and lows. It's going to be a roller coaster. And that definitely showed up out there. I hated the matchup against USC going into it. That was an elite level defensive team, even with the struggles and lost so many losses. And like you said, we thought the UCLA game was going to be difficult, and that certainly bore out. But when I went through and I took a peek at this and this road trip, what I think I learned more than anything, McCabe, yes, more important than I think even maybe we anticipated going in. But more secondly, this was not a team that was going to contend for the regular season crown. UCLA is on its own tier. We definitely saw that. And during the 9-game winning streak to begin things, that gap between UCLA, then we thought Iowa was there and everybody else, maybe not quite the same. Iowa still a team that can contend for that second spot in the Big Ten, but maybe the gap wasn't quite as big as maybe we were hoping after the 9-0 start.
Absolutely. We'll talk some more Iowa women's basketball. Rob Brooks will join us around 11:30 today. So we'll talk a little more Iowa women with them. They come back home. They get Minnesota at home on Thursday, 6 p.m. Before I let you go, Trent, I know you're a busy man. The Iowa football schedule dropped last week. Our good friend Tom Kakert came on and chatted about it with Tyler Tashman of kind of the way too early projections. Where do you look at when that schedule came out? What was the headline? The fact that there's 3 really hard games sitting there right in the middle of the schedule. That's pretty easy one that kind of jumps out to you, isn't it?
Oh, no doubt. And to open up in Ann Arbor, going into the big house with a quarterback that, regardless of who it is, Hank Brown or Jeremy Hecklinski, whoever's the starter, it'll be their first road start of their career coming in that kind of environment. I know Hank had a couple of starts at Auburn, but this is going to be certainly different, and to have it in the big house. And in fact, that might be your easiest of the 3-game stretch there. Ohio State, a lot of people preseason number 1 right after that, and then the road trip out to Washington. And as we started the conversation about trips out west, I don't think we need to rehash that, but we know the way normally things go, and that's a preseason top 20 Washington team that they go out there. To think that a 3-game stretch and your easiest game very well could be a game at Michigan, who's also in the preseason top 20 for everybody, and Underwood there. I think it works out well too, getting them early with Whittingham, new coaching staff, new regime, those kind of things. Rather play them then as opposed to November. But yeah, that's definitely the highlight there. And then you finish it up after that 3-game sojourn after the bye week, and it's the Big Ten West, right? I mean, you get to take on all your former mates, all the teams that we know throughout the year. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Now for Iowa, obviously, keep your head above water. Don't lose a game in the non-conference. But even if you can just steal 1 game out of that 3-game stretch, you set yourself up where you're going to be favored likely in those final 6 games of the season. And we could be talking about something special for Iowa football in 2026.
Was the talk in Des Moines that, over here, everyone just kept skipping over Iowa State like it was an easy one? I know in your neck of the woods that probably made people cranky. I think Kakert was on here saying they got to be at least a 10-point favorite. Did that make some folks in the Des Moines area a little cranky when people just look at that Iowa game and think Iowa State, that's an easy Iowa victory?
Well, Cyclone fans are always cranky with me, so I'm used to that. But, I don't think so because, there's, of course, the 1%ers that think that your team's going to be great regardless of what it looks like. But nobody knows this team. I mean, they brought in so many guys in the portal, lost so many guys out of the portal. It is the great unknown. Jimmy Rogers, the new head coach at Iowa State, he did a really good job at Wazoo last year of doing the same thing now that he has to do this season at Iowa State, basically completely rebuilding a roster, but we just don't know. For every guy that they got out of a power conference program, you look through and you kind of look at their offer list, and there weren't a whole lot of other power conference offers. Rayner, their quarterback that comes in from Arkansas State, in fact, almost beat Iowa State a year ago when they played down there in Jonesboro. He's been inconsistent throughout the course of his career. I like it. And in fact, I think Iowa State did a whole lot better than I thought they would in the portal here for year number 1 for Rogers, but we just don't know. We have no clue about this team, how it molds together. Again, same kind of thing. If you play this team early, I think it's better shape than having to play them late. And because, as we know, traditionally always the September game outside of 2001, this game's going to be played in September. I think that works out really well here. It's difficult to envision that Iowa State, with all these new faces, is going to be ready to go by game 2 of the season.
Trent, before I let you go, I want to talk about the shows that you have. Obviously, KXNO is a station around the state of Iowa that everyone knows about. You're on there every single day from noon to 2, but you're also on right here in the Quad Cities, if people haven't noticed or realized as well. Kind of explain that, and you can get the talk of sports radio around the state of Iowa right here in the Quad Cities.
Yeah, we are on 12:30 a.m. over there in the Quad Cities. In fact, we're statewide now. We have stations in Sioux City, our flagship KXNO in Des Moines, Cedar Rapids, Iowa City as well. So we are all over the place. 12:30 a.m., though, there in the Quad Cities is where you can find us. I'm on from noon to 2, and all of our local programming is we have throughout the course of the day, 9 hours of local programming. Our morning show, the first quarter, with Heather Burnside, one of the pioneers in this business, the first female to have a microphone here in the state for an extended time. Her along with Alec Bussey in the mornings from 6 to 9. Myself and Ken Miller, who helped start sports radio statewide back in the mid-90s, as he was the first to have a 24-hour sports station. He's on with myself from noon to 2, and then our afternoon show, The Drive, with Sean Roberts and with Lucas Strain. That is from 2 to 5. Then we have Overtime Iowa. That's a show from 5 until 6. Takes the top clip from each show and plays that throughout the 5 o'clock hour. So you can catch us each and every weekday there. Do that along with my other job, if you will, and that is hosting the daily Locked On Hawkeyes podcast, where I talk like we just talked, Dazzo, talk Hawkeyes each and every day, breaking things down, taking a different look at things, have some different interviews in there. So that's what it is. It's a lot of talking, a lot of conversations, but look, we're talking sports. There's nothing better than this, Dazzo.
It's they say it's a job. It's really not. Tell people Locked On Hawkeyes is where it's at. We know 12:30. Social media wise, streaming wise, X wise, what's the best way to check out your content?
Yeah, you can check me out on Twitter, though I've throughout the years started to scale back just a little bit. Not on social media like I once was. It's turned too ugly at times, but it's still there. At Trent Condon is where you can find me. You can find the Twitter page for the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. It's just at Locked On Iowa. That's on TikTok. I don't do much with that. We have other people that put together the TikToks. That is a time suck, boy. I downloaded that for an afternoon, and that was a terrible decision. So I got off of that thing very quickly. But Instagram, Facebook, all over the place. You can just search Locked On Hawkeyes. They'll all pop up there, or Trent Condon on Twitter. And you can find from time to time my thoughts on things, or maybe a hot take or two.
I love it. Trent, I appreciate you. I'm going to bug you some more. Hopefully that's okay. Check out his show right here in the Quad Cities, right after mine. It's perfect. We don't have to compete or anything, right? When I get done, you guys can check out Trent over on 12:30. I appreciate you, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Matt.
All right. That is Trent Condon talking Iowa Hawkeyes. Of course, the Locked On Hawkeyes. And you look at that, we've had Lauren Cox on from Locked On Bears, and I listen to the Locked On Lions like almost every single day with Matt Derry. So it's a great network. Go check that out. And then, of course, right here in the Quad Cities, if you want local sports talk, and for so long it was, people didn't want to hear the national guys all the time. And that's what I grew up on. I grew on local sports talk when it came to Dan Burrich and John Marks and Tom Cornelis, and heck, Kakert and Ked did a show, and that's what I grew up listening to. So great to have local sports talk back in the Quad Cities when it comes to the state of Iowa, for sure. So that's 12:30, and Trent has his show coming up at noon. So once you're done with this one, you can go check that one out as well. We got much more to get to coming up after the break. It was a big Friday night at Wharton Fieldhouse. It was Rock Island beating Moline. It was a unique experience for one Rock Island standout, as he was playing at Wharton Fieldhouse as a Rock and not a Maroon for the first time. Arthur Abbey from Rock Island will join us right after this. You're watching OTA on a Monday. We'll be right back.
Give me the keys. Learning to drive can be stressful for both the student and, yes, the parent as well. Relax. There's an easy way to avoid the stress. Skiles Driving School in East Moline has been helping new drivers hit the road with confidence for over 20 years. Whether you're a teen earning your first license or an adult looking for behind-the-wheel training, we've got you covered. Their certified instructors are patient, experienced, and use modern vehicles equipped for safety and comfort. From classroom instruction to real-world driving, we make learning safe, affordable, and even fun. Call 309-278-0098 or visit skylesdriving.com. Skiles Driving School. Get in, buckle up, drive your future forward.
Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Monday in the Quad Cities. It was a fantastic weekend of high school basketball, especially on Friday night. Great games on both sides of the river, as usual. Big schools, small schools. February is officially here, so the February frenzy, as I like to call it, is officially in full swing, and it doesn't get any bigger than a Friday night at Wharton Fieldhouse when it's Rock Island and Moline. That was the case on Friday night with Rock Island getting a little revenge and knocking off the Rocks 59-42, the final on Friday night. And one of the guys that had a big part in that success was Rock Island guard Arthur Abbey. He joins me right now and Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. First and foremost, young man, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate you.
It was a big Friday night of high school basketball, like we mentioned. When it's Rocky and Moline, and you've been on both sides of the rivalry, what is it like coming in? What is Friday like? What's the lead up like when it comes to a rivalry in a game like that?
It's you just gotta get ready for a big crowd. Like, it's always fun playing in them type of game and competing.
What was it about Friday night? Obviously, it's a big victory. We'll start there. What's it mean to go to that place and get a victory, and especially the way you did as well? A convincing victory, almost to an extent. What was that victory? What does it mean for you guys moving forward?
It felt good because last time we played them, they left a bad taste in our mouth. Came to our home floor and took one. So we came in there with the mindset of dominating, and we came in there and did that, and it felt good to win and get revenge.
You mentioned getting a little revenge. It was just before Christmas. It was a big night. Rocky Fieldhouse, I know it was packed. I think I did my show from there earlier in the day, and they came in, they got you. Obviously, you don't need a ton of extra motivation when it comes to playing Moline, but you guys remember that, obviously. What did you learn from the first meeting that maybe helped you on Friday night?
The first time we played them, like, we dug ourselves in a hole, shooting a lot of threes. We wasn't shooting a good percentage, so we came in attacking the paint, getting out in transition, things we do very well, and we did that, and we dominated and got the win. That helped us a lot.
Tell me about the environment, because you knew it was going to be raucous, and you've been on both sides of it, and you knew we were playing at Wharton Fieldhouse, for the first time without wearing that uniform, wearing an opposing uniform. How did you prepare? What did you expect? And was it what you expected?
I just expected a big crowd, loud game, and that was just a big game for me. I was planning to play there before the season started. So, and going in there and winning, that felt good to me and meant a lot to me and my family.
Absolutely, absolutely. Arthur Abbey joining us right now and Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. This team had won 10 straight. You fell on Saturday, a really good Chaminade team that you lost to, a great test and all of that. But that 10-game winning streak was impressive. What was right about this team during those 10 games? What were you guys doing that made that 10-game stretch successful?
We just took a couple tough losses beginning of the year, so we all just came in together, bought in, and we had some goals that we want to accomplish. So we bought in together, worked hard every day, practice. Coach Polite pushing us to be great, and we won 9 straight in a row. So that felt good.
No, absolutely. Arthur, you look at it, what makes this team go? You talked about buying in, and you look at the team, you look at the talent on the floor, and it's good. It's really good. What is it about this team that makes it special? Because talent can only get you so far. What is it about this team that makes you guys click right now?
Oh yeah, like we're very talented. We got 2 other amazing guards, and Devin Marshall and Austin Zulu. So that helps. And then Avion Thomas just keeps us together. He's a great passer, so like he just keeps us going, keep us together. And then we got like Josh Jones and Jeremiah Jameson, like them are energy guys. So like if we not having a lot of energy, they will bring us up, and they help us. They keep us going too, for sure.
You mentioned roles. Coming in new as a team, everybody's got to figure out what their role is, and you kind of just mentioned what each guy does well. How important is that? Because there's only one basketball. How important is for guys to figure things out and kind of have it mesh together like it has?
It's very important because it's very important. Like everybody know their roles, and like we just all put it together, and it's working out very well for us.
Take me with this to this team off the court. Obviously, you guys are talented on, but there's got to be good chemistry, get along, all those kind of things. Those words, those key words when it comes to sports. How close is this group, and how much have you guys grown together, maybe off the court as well?
Oh, this team, we got good chemistry off the court for sure. Like it started in the summer, us all hanging out with each other because a lot of us grew up playing AAU together. So like we all just connected very fast. Like the team dinners at teammates' houses and all, like we always want to hang out. It's always laughing and giggles. So our chemistry is great for sure.
Okay. You mentioned laughing and giggles and stuff. Is there, in a nice way, is there a team class clown? Is there a goofball? Is there a guy that keeps the mood light, maybe when it needs to be lightened up in a good way? Who's that class clown?
Jeremiah Jameson. He's the funniest on the team for sure. He never fails to make nobody laugh.
I was gonna say, tell me why. Is he just and in a good way,
Like,
right? Because sometimes you need that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just his personality. He's just very funny, make goofy faces, funny jokes all the time. So for sure him.
You guys get ready to hit this home stretch, and 9-1 in conference play, tied with Moline at the top. Obviously, there's big goals for this team and lofty goals, but that first one is probably that Western Big Six championship. What is the mindset right now of this team? As we talk about March Madness all the time. I think in high school it's February frenzy because this month is crazy. What's the mindset of this team moving forward?
Just dominate the rest of the conference. We just want to win out conference and just win it. Hopefully, Moline loses again or something. But either than that, we'll share conference, and that was one of our goals, is to win conference this year.
Absolutely. Arthur Abbey joining me right now and off the air with Matt Randazzo. Where have you seen your growth, Arthur? Obviously, you've played a lot of varsity basketball, got great experience as a freshman and a sophomore. Where's your game at right now, and where have you seen yourself maybe take the next couple steps this season?
I just been putting a lot of work this off season. Coaches let me in the morning, so that they've been helping me a lot, developing me as a good point guard and all that type of stuff. So they've been helping me a lot. And then the weight room, getting stronger and faster. That's been helping my game out a lot.
You mentioned
I've been seeing a lot of growth with that.
You mentioned Coach Polite. It's when you have talent, it's not easy because you just can't throw it on the floor and expect to win basketball games. And then off the court stuff as well. Can you talk to Coach Polite and what he's meant to you through this transition and obviously on the court itself? He's a guy that did it as an extremely high level as well. I don't know if he still talks about his glory days, but what's he been like for you so far?
Yeah, he's a great coach for me. He made me feel like family since the first day I joined the team. And like, if I always need somebody to talk to, he'll talk. he'll be there for me. And if something's going on, he's just there. He's a great coach, and he helps me a lot.
Absolutely. Sure. Arthur Abbey joining me right now and off there with Matt Randazzo over from Rock Island, standout at Rock Island. Some fun questions for you before I let you get out of here. Post-game tradition, and I know you're kind of new over to the Rock Island scene, but is there a place you guys like to go, or how do you guys celebrate a little victory at Rock Island?
We'll probably kick in the locker room for a little bit, but we'll probably go to Evan Ellis' house. His parents always cooking for us, so we'll all probably go over there and chill.
All right,
for sure.
I'm a big foodie. I like to eat, probably too much if you couldn't tell, Arthur. What's the place to go for you? What's the favorite place? If I can say, if Coach is finally buying dinner and he's taking you someplace to dinner, where's he taking you to?
Oh, I need some JJ's. JJ's chicken for sure. JJ's, yeah.
I like it. If you could have dinner with one person in the world, who would it be? Past, present, dead, alive, whatever. Who are you having dinner with and why?
Probably Steph Curry. Just ask him a couple questions on how to get my shot better and more efficient. For sure, Steph Curry.
That's a good way to go. Any superstitions, Arthur? Are you a superstitious type of guy? Are there certain things you have to do every day, every game? Any superstitions for you?
I wouldn't say so. Just listening to some music before the game. For sure, just some music probably.
What are we listening to?
And getting some food before the game. A lot of NBA Youngboy, Lil Durk. That'll get me ready for the game for sure.
You said food before the game. Is there?
Yes.
Is there a certain meal? Is there a certain thing you have to have, or just anything?
Before the game, I'll usually get probably Wendy's or Checkers for sure. The 2 for $7 from Checkers always hit. So
hold on,
probably,
Arthur.
Probably that.
How far ahead of the game are you eating Wendy's or Checkers before you go play basketball?
Before the sophomore game for sure.
Okay,
so before 5:30.
All right, a little bit of time, right? Before you go out there, you can't go out there with a bunch of greasy food in you, can you?
Nah. So eat it
all right.
Before an hour and a half before.
There you go. All right, before I let you go, we talked about goals in Western Big Six. How good can this team be? And how much do you guys got to stay locked in? Because there's a lot of outside noise. There's guys like me that want to talk to you after a big victory. There's media. There's expectations, fans, school, all that kind of stuff. What's the rest of the way look like? And how much do you guys got to stay locked in together and listening to that guy that's in your room right now with you, Coach Polite?
Yeah, we just got to keep taking steps in the right direction. We got to stay locked in. We can't let the outside noise mess up what we got going on, and just keep listening to Coach because he's right and he's not going to lie to us. So just keep trusting in Coach for sure.
Absolutely. Arthur, I appreciate it. You did a fantastic job. Best of luck the rest of the way. Keep winning a whole bunch of basketball games, and maybe we can do this again sometime. How's that sound?
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
That is Arthur Abbey, Rock Island standout. Big game for Rock Island on Friday night to go on the road and get a little redemption after losing earlier this season to Moline right before Christmas. Big for them. So both teams now 9-1 in conference play with some games left to go. We'll see who finally finishes the Western Big Six, and maybe they end up tied. But obviously Rock Island with a lot of expectations postseason wise as well. So thanks once again to Arthur Abbey. We got much more to get to. You're watching Off the Air on a Monday right here in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West. the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
You from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stirtz Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Monday in the Quad Cities. A busy Monday on the show it's been. We've already chatted with Texas Tech softball standout and, of course, Rock Island native Taylor Pannell joined us on the show. Taylor doing a fantastic job, an All-American last year, Tennessee, making the switch to Texas Tech. Of course, you can check out her interview. If you missed her, just scroll back and check that out as well. We also chatted with Trent Condon. Trent has a very, very good radio show in the Des Moines area on KXNO from noon to 2, covering Iowa, Iowa State, everything, Miller and Condon. That show also here in the Quad Cities as well on AM 1230 every day at noon. So make sure you check that out. We talked all about the Iowa victory last night against Oregon, the loss for the ladies, a little football as well. You can also check him out on Locked On Hawkeyes. So we thank Trent for taking the time this morning to chat with us. We also got a nice conversation with Arthur Abbey. Arthur, a Rock Island standout junior. It was Rock Island beating Moline over the weekend on Friday. The Rocks now 9-1 in the Western Big Six. Moline now 9-1 in the Western Big Six as well. So a big weekend for Rock Island and a great stretch when it comes to high school basketball. You've got Rock Island and Moline both at 9-1 in the Western Big Six. Other conferences shaping up nicely as well. In the MAC, there's a log jam at the top, including Muscatine and Bettendorf. Muscatine hosts Bettendorf this weekend. We'll try to catch up with the Muskies sometime this week as well. They're playing really good basketball. So many matchups, so many conference races, I should say, shaping up in high school basketball. So we'll keep you locked in right here on Off the Air throughout the next month and into March as well. What a great time of year it has been. Hoping to talk with Rob Brooks coming up in a matter of moments as well. So talk a little more Iowa women's basketball. Speaking of the Iowa women, they have dropped 2 places in the AP Top 25 from number 8 to number 10. Of course, a tough trip out to LA. They go 0-2, losing to USC and then losing yesterday to UCLA. 88-65 the final in that one. It was the second straight loss. Ava Hayden quite early, foul trouble throughout, did have 19 points, played really well, especially in the second half. Addie Deal was a little bit of a struggle. Didn't play very well. And that's what you're going to get out of a freshman. She's going to look really good some games, and then she's going to struggle in some games. Didn't have it yesterday. And you look at it, Journey Houston, our Quad City product, off the bench, 16 minutes, 7 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. But a really good UCLA team, and kind of expecting something along those lines. You hope the gap wasn't as big as it was, but Iowa struggled to take care of the basketball. They turned the ball over a lot, unfortunately, and that led to a lot of points for UCLA and what ends up being an 88-65 victory. Iowa will head home They play on Thursday, 6 p.m. at Carver Hawkeye Arena. So we'll see if the Iowa women can get back on track. Like I mentioned, hoping to get Rob Brooks to join us here in just a few moments. So we'll talk a little more Iowa women's basketball, hopefully, coming up in just a little bit. We talked a lot about it. It was a great day for college basketball yesterday. We talked a lot with Trent Condon about the Iowa men. They won 84-66. They're back at it on Wednesday night, 10 p.m. start here in the Quad Cities or in the state of Iowa, wherever you are watching the show. So a late night on Wednesday, but Iowa playing well. They'll play on Super Bowl Sunday as well, a 2 p.m. tip-off against Northwestern. So a busy week for the Iowa men's basketball team. We talked about the Illini. We'll talk more about them a lot tomorrow. I think they're probably the best team in the Big Ten right now. Obviously, Michigan's really good. And so, yes, Michigan is right there as well. And probably before yesterday, maybe before last Sunday, I would have said it's Michigan, then Illinois. You can't argue with going with Purdue and beating the Boilermakers and then going to Nebraska and beating Nebraska, number 5 ranked team in the country, in between, a victory over Washington, but Illinois playing at an extremely high level. We talked with Jim Madsen last week about if there's an Achilles heel, is there a more athletic team? Eventually, maybe. But what they're doing on the offensive end, and then yesterday, what they did on the defensive end as well, extremely impressive. So they get that victory. Keaton Wagler is really good, 28 points last night. They host Northwestern on Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Then they go to Michigan State on Saturday. Michigan State, 7 o'clock on Saturday, should be a really, really good basketball game. Prime time, I'm assuming on Fox. You look at Michigan State, they're in there in the mix. I do think I agree with Trent Condon that I do believe Purdue will be okay in the long run. They got to come to Iowa City here on Valentine's Day, so hopefully they don't get too correct too quickly, although Maryland wore one from Michigan State this past weekend, and you kind of saw that one coming. Purdue had struggled, and they got things back on track, and usually when teams like that are talented as they are get back on track, it usually results in an impressive victory, and they hammered Maryland. So that's the look of the Big Ten right now. I think it's Illinois, it's Michigan State, or Michigan. Maybe a step below is Michigan State, Purdue, and then Iowa's right there. And we talked about it earlier, and they talked about it on the game last night on the broadcast. That top 8 spot's very important. Obviously, top 4 is extremely important, but top 8 is important as well. And I think Iowa should be in that mix. Maybe they're the 6th best team, and then you look at it, that's the top third of the Big Ten. That's really good for year one for Ben McCollum. So more talk with Illinois coming up in just a little bit. On tomorrow's show, we'll kind of focus more on the Illini coming up tomorrow right here on OTA. We did talk about Iowa State, and Iowa State men dominant once again. And we knew this stretch was going to be beneficial for them. Starting Valentine's Day and moving forward for Iowa State, it gets extremely difficult. But this was a really good kind of pocket or window in their schedule where they could get back on track. They did that yesterday. First off, the Kansas State uniforms were awful. So that's my opinion. I thought they looked terrible. One of my kids loved them. I hated them. 5 individuals in double figures, including Joshua Jefferson as well. So balanced scoring, their 4th straight victory. They're now 20-2 on the season, so they lost those 2 straight games. Kansas and I believe Cincinnati. And since then, they've gotten back on track quickly, and they're playing really good basketball. They're off until next weekend, or the weekend coming up, Saturday. They'll take on Baylor. I believe that's 1 o'clock start. But a week off to kind of practice, get back at it. These are important right now in February as the stretch run is right around the corner. Jake Brenda will be with us as he always is on Wednesdays. So we'll talk with Jake Brenda about the Cyclones moving forward as well. So they looked good. So a good day for men's basketball. If you're a men's basketball fan here, whether you're an Iowa State, Illinois fan, a good Sunday around our area. I do want to mention what Shauna Green's doing at Illinois. They go on the road, and they've had their ups and downs. They're so young. They are so young. Sierra Parchment was really good, a freshman yesterday, 23 points, 10 rebounds. Watched a lot of that game. They're now 16-6, 6-5 in the Big Ten. They go to Washington, ranked 25th in the country, and win 75-66. And they just got up by like 9 in the second quarter, and it was like 7-9 felt like the entire second half. I know it got a little closer late, maybe 6 or 5, but Illinois doing a good job on the road getting that victory. They now stay out in the Pacific Northwest. They'll take on Oregon on Wednesday at 8 p.m., but Shauna Green continues to win basketball games. Are they the best team in the Big Ten? No, they're not. Are they an NCAA tournament team? Absolutely. Can they win a game in the NCAA tournament? Yes. Can they win 2? Who knows? But and they're so young too. They're going to get better as the season goes along, and then of course in the future as well. So again, Shauna Green, this Illinois women's basketball, and I covered sports in the Quad Cities for 25 years. I still pretend to cover them, I guess now. And Illinois women's basketball wasn't even on our radar really. If ever so often they did something nice or whatever, we would cover them. But you look at them now, and they're relevant. They're a good basketball team. They got a Clinton native in Shauna Green, having that team, that program playing really, really good basketball. So congratulations to Shauna Green and the Fighting Illini for winning some good basketball games. We mentioned Rob Brooks. And everyone, they've been beating down the doors. We need Rob Brooks. The ladies have been sending like emails and everything. Rob, finally that handsome face is here in OTA. Yes. How are you, my friend? How was LA?
Well, it was a good time. It was the weather was spectacular. Typically it's probably 65, 68, maybe 70 degrees out there this time of year, but it was 80, 81, not a cloud in the sky. So, it's, I always thought when I was in college, I said, if I go to Arizona State, there's not a chance that I'm going to make it through a year. And you kind of get that feeling when you're out there too, especially on the UCLA campus. It'd be really hard to do any work out here, but it was all in all a good trip, a tough trip. Certainly, from a basketball standpoint, you knew that going in. UCLA is really, really good, as most people are certainly aware of. Final Four team last year. I think they only lost 3 games combined, so that was always going to be tough. And I think most teams in the Big Ten go out there hoping for 1 out of 2, and then it's always about when you play teams and where you play them. And USC was ready to go. You give them credit. It's a long, athletic team. You watch them play live, and you kind of scratch your head as to why they're sub 500 in the league so far. But sometimes when the season turns to February, some lights go on for some teams, and I think that was certainly the case. And Iowa just didn't get off to a great start really at USC or UCLA. Clawed back at times, but just wasn't enough at the end.
Rob, you look at it, and it wasn't a successful weekend. They were 9-0 going out there and playing really good basketball. And you kind of looked at it, you knew what UCLA was. You hoped to get USC. But despite that, kind of turning the page with it, they've got so much still to play for. And if I'm talking to you a week ago right now, people are loving life. As an Iowa fan, Iowa fans watching, how concerned were you watching this? How excited are you moving forward? I don't think this is any season-changing trip to LA. I think Iowa women's basketball is still going to be okay. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think when you started to look at the season, and especially when you got into the Big Ten portion, and you're looking at Indiana, Oregon at home, Michigan State, at Maryland, Ohio State, USC, UCLA. I thought if you were above 500 in those 5 games, you were in really good shape. And Iowa winning at Maryland, I didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Michigan State, I thought would come right down to the wire. And I thought they could win at Indiana, Oregon. So I think all in all, you have to be really happy about 9-0 and still 9-2 with 7 basketball games left. The overriding thing to me this year has been, and I probably should go count them up, how many games really since the back end of November have you had a healthy starting 5? It just seems like it's been mixing and matching. Somebody's been out, and now the loss of Taylor McCabe, and I think some people thought maybe that isn't as big a loss as I think internally it was, because yes, she can shoot. We all know that, but what she really has become is an outstanding rebounder, and always would pick up the second or third best player defensively, and then the leadership and the experience, especially on the road in tough games, you just can't measure that. And that's a big loss. And the coaching staff knew it, and I'm not sure fans quite knew it as well. And it is. And it changes rotations. It changes what position you're going to play, how many minutes you're going to play, where you are on the scouting report. I think that's kind of something that really gets lost. You know about Stalky and Hayden, but players that can kind of come in off the bench and have big games, a lot of times it's because they're not pinpointed on that scouting report as much. Then you have a couple of big games and you have a player go down, and then all of a sudden, okay, this is somebody we really need to pay attention to. So you get a better defender. You might get face guarded for 5 to 7 minutes. It might get more physical with you out on the perimeter. And that's all stuff you have to learn, where 4th and 5th year players have already gone through that, and they're used to that grind this time of year.
Rob Brooks joining us right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Rob, you kind of mentioned it. I mean, if we talked last week at this time, Addie Deal was what everyone was talking about. She struggled a little bit out in LA, but she's also a freshman. You just kind of alluded to. You're going to have those kind of things. Can you talk about what you've seen from her maybe when it comes to this season? We saw it last year with Ava Hayden. It takes, yes, sometimes a 5-star shows up and they're a 5-star or a 4-star and it clicks and they're amazing. But a lot of the times it's a work in progress your first season. What have you seen from her? And the good's been really good lately. And I think that's a positive for Iowa moving forward.
It really is. Just a terrific talent, no doubt about it. She can score at all 3 levels. And the fact that I think from a defensive standpoint, a ball handling standpoint, that has been a little bit of a tougher deal because, as Jan Jensen's always talked about, bigger, faster, stronger. This isn't high school, and it's not the AAU circuit. And Big Ten players, sometimes 4, 5, 6 years older than you are. You look at that UCLA roster, and it's 4th, 5th, and in some cases 6-year collegiate players that have played at a really high level. Tough for a freshman. And I think part of it going back home, just grew up about 40 miles away from downtown Los Angeles, maybe some added pressure there. And then going back to what I talked about. Well, you're right. She's played spectacular basketball, has had some great games. Well, obviously, the opposition knows that and says, well, we're not going to let this happen out here. And you get a better defender. You get more attention paid to you, more pressure on the perimeter. So that kind of leads to those things. And then on the road, especially, you miss a couple 3 shots early. You just never kind of get yourself in rhythm. And that can lead to some tough scoring nights. But I think from a positive standpoint, Taylor Strumlow coming off the bench, really good in both games. Journey Houston has just been as consistent as you could expect. Whenever her number's called, she is ready. Had a career-high 16, also had 8 rebounds against USC, and then gave Iowa some good minutes against UCLA. Cut that lead to 13 early in the 4th quarter, and then forced UCLA to call timeout. and then you say, okay, is there a chance to get this to 9 to 8? And then Kiki Rice comes right out of the timeout, hits a three, couple of turnovers at midcourt, and all of a sudden you look up and you're down 20. And that's what those teams do to you. You claw back a little bit, you get within striking distance, and then 2 minutes later, they're on a 10-0 run, 9-0 run, and you go back to the end of the second quarter. Iowa had that to single digits.
Yeah.
And then they almost had the rebound, loose ball. UCLA finds it in the corner, knocks down a three at the buzzer. Takes all the momentum to that.
The way that second and the fact that the young lady walked before that 3-pointer went down, but that's neither here nor there. We don't want to get into all that.
that happens every week, right?
Rob, and you know I'm supposed to be an unbiased member of the media, a good journalist, but I'm extremely biased when it comes to Journey Houston. Got to cover here in the Quad Cities for 4 years, and she's a delight off the court as well. Just a fun person to be around. Can you talk? You mentioned her a little bit out there, but that's what she's been all season. She's been, you need me to do this, I'll do this. If you need me to do that, I'll do it. You give me 7 minutes, I'll play those. You give me 16, I'm ready to go. Her attitude's been great. And you saw yesterday, she made her first 3 of the season. And I think she was 0 for 5 before then. But I know she's maybe playing a little out of position where I've seen her make so many jump shots over her career. It's crazy. Just, I guess, your thoughts of what you've seen from her sitting courtside and maybe attitude wise and what she's brought to this team as a freshman that wasn't heralded as much as maybe the other ones in this class.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. A terrific high school player, well known, and probably a little bit under the radar, and she can shoot it. And I think that's been a huge thing when she's entered the game, is to be able to knock down that 15 to 17 foot jumper in the triangle offense, which is so key. And then haven't seen her shoot a lot of threes, and that some of those were probably at the end of the shot clock too. But they backed off her, and no problem, stepped up and knocked it down. She always seems to be locked in and ready to go. It can have fun off the court. Seems like she's got a really good relationship with her teammates, but I think it takes things really serious, and obviously goes through the scouting report and then knows that she's going to get into the game at some point in time. You just, as you mentioned, you don't know whether it's going to be 7 minutes or 15 or 16, which can be hard for some players, but I think she's embraced that role. And depending on matchups, I think it kind of goes back and forth as to how many minutes she's going to play. Certain teams match up probably a little bit better for her than others.
Rob, before I let you get out of here, they turn the page. They get Minnesota, I believe, Thursday, 6 p.m. at Carver Hawkeye Arena. And you look at the rest of the schedule, there's some really, especially Carver Hawkeye, Minnesota coming up on Thursday, but they get Michigan at Carver Hawkeye. Illinois comes to Carver Hawkeye Arena later in the season. Shauna Green's doing good things with the Fighting Illini. A lot of great games there. Yes. You look at the schedule and there's winnable games, and almost every game should be very competitive. How important, I guess, is it for Iowa to get back on track? Minnesota's a good basketball team. 2-game losing streaks are no fun. 3-game losing streaks are yuck. How important is Thursday's game now to get back on track, and what do you expect from a pretty good Minnesota team?
I think you're exactly right. Coach Jensen gave the team off today, and we'll have a 2-day prep to get ready for Thursday's game. And Iowa's had a lot of success against Minnesota, but you're right. It seems to be a renewed energy, really good team. Just destroyed Purdue, who had won some games in the last couple of weeks, 88-55 yesterday. So obviously can score and defend. And, it's nice to be at Carver. That's the thing when you have a 2-game losing streak like that. You can kind of put it behind you, knowing that this was, I thought, on paper, obviously just got through the toughest stretch of the season. But Minnesota, Washington, who is ranked, and that was really the game last year that Iowa turned the tide out in Seattle to go on a nice winning streak. And then you've got the return game with Nebraska, the only team in the Big Ten that Iowa will play twice. Then at Purdue, you think you can get that one, and then Michigan, Illinois at home, tough stretch, and then going to an improved Wisconsin team. So it's good to be 9-2 with this stretch, but that's what this league is, right? The fact that you're going to play some top 5 teams. You're going to play a lot of top 15 teams. And most of the time, you're going to play somebody that's ranked or near the top 25. That's just the competition you're dealing with an 18-team league. And I always go back to when the expansions have always taken place, it has been the toughest competition-wise on women's basketball. Because you remember, obviously, when Maryland came into the league, we all know about how good they are, 2006 national champions, perennial Sweet 16 team. At the time, not now, but at the time, Rutgers was really, really good under C. Vivian Stringer. Sure. And then you have the extra expansion. You get UCLA and USC, who was both in the top 5 last year when Juju was playing at SC, and then Washington and Oregon, teams that are well known around the country. So it has really taken on a new level with women's college basketball in the Big Ten, but that's what you all sign up for, right?
Rob, okay, weather-wise, did you get just slapped in the face when you got off the plane last night and it was probably like 5 degrees or wherever you were when you got it? How nice was it out there, and how much was it just a slap in the face to come back here?
Well, I was expecting a slap in the face, but it wasn't too bad last night. We landed about 11:15 Central Time, got off the airplane. I said, okay, this is all right. Usually when you're at the airport, the wind's whipping and snow's hitting you in the face, and it's just a miserable walk to the parking lot, hoping your car starts. But it wasn't too bad last night. We kind of looked at each other and said, okay, we can deal with this. But it was 80 degrees every day out in LA, unseasonably warm. So everybody was enjoying that. And the players had a little bit of downtime, not much, really kept it businesslike, had 2-hour practices, but as Coach Jensen likes to talk about, let them thaw out a little bit for a few hours.
Yes, I need to thaw out. I'm glad you're thawed out as well. Robbie, I appreciate you as always. Thank you so much for doing this. I'll catch up with you again soon. And as always, I tell John Marks this all the time too. I owe you. As always, I owe you. So put it on my tab and we'll pay up sometime real soon. Appreciate you, my friend.
Way down the road, right?
Exactly. Thanks, buddy. Take care.
Take care. Yep,
all
sounds
right.
good.
Rob Brooks, the voice of Iowa women's basketball, joining us right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Always good to catch up with that young man. And he's right. You look at this schedule for Iowa women's basketball heading down the stretch. It's not. We knew this. We talk with Kyle about this all the time. They can win every game left on the schedule. I don't think they can lose every game, but there's not too many gimmies. Purdue probably. Wisconsin, you would hope, but they're playing better. And then after that, get to Carver Hawkeye. He mentioned it. Washington's coming to town. Minnesota. What is it? Michigan and Illinois. There's some really good games coming up for the Iowa women's basketball team. So make sure you check that out if you can get to Carver, if you can get a ticket, because it's, as always, one of the toughest tickets in town to get. So thank you once again to Rob Brooks for joining us. Thank you to all of our guests for joining us. That's a good Monday. I don't know if you guys could tell out there, technology challenged me today. And it's hard to talk sometimes while dealing with technology, but we survived. I need to hire a producer. So if anybody is interested in not making a lot of money and hanging out with me in my loft every day, let me know. But it was fun. Taylor Pannell, Trent Condon, Arthur Abbey from Rock Island, and Rob Brooks. I'll take that. I'll take that for a Monday, put it in the pocket, move on for the rest of the week. A lot of fun as well. Coming up later this week as well. We didn't talk a lot about it today, but Caden Considine, son of former Hawkeye standout Sean Considine, one of the best players in the state of Illinois this year for Byron. They won a state championship. He officially committed to Illinois yesterday. We're going to have Caden on the show tomorrow to talk about his commitment, what it meant, and his, what I say is a recruiting process that was way too slow. It took too long for people to realize how good that kid is. He's going to make Brett Bielema and company very happy down at the University of Illinois. So we'll talk with him tomorrow. We'll talk more Illinois stuff as well. They lost their defensive coordinator this weekend. Aaron Henry is gone. They got a big victory against both the men and women yesterday on the road. Big victory. So we will track down a Jim Madsen or a Ked Prince or somebody tomorrow and talk to them about that as well. We got Kyle Huseman coming up later this week and a whole bunch more. We have a loaded week when it comes to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. How about this one? Coming up on Wednesday, we'll talk about the Senior Bowl and the standouts from both Iowa and Illinois and all over the place with Nick Baumgartner. If you've never listened to him or gotten your information when it comes to the NFL draft and those kind of things from him, you've greatly missed out. I'm really excited about that interview. We'll have that coming up on Wednesday, him on the show on Wednesday as well. So it's a very busy week for the show. Here's the caveat, just talking to my viewers here. My wife's going out of town. So I got to do this stuff, and then I got to make it so that my 4 kids survive the week. She leaves Wednesday morning. So let's hope this week goes well. As a OTA family, be thinking about me. Hopefully this week goes well and the Randazzo boys survive until mom comes home late Saturday night, I think it is. So anyways, enough about me. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you to our guests as well. Thank you, as always, to our sponsors. It's been a fun Monday here on OTA. Let's do it all again tomorrow. We'll see you guys then.